Fellas, welcome back to some football stuff. So I know it's been a minute since we gotten into some X's and O's, and I know you guys probably are sitting home pretty bored and want to start getting after it. So I decided to put together some stuff for us so we can get started and kind of be ahead of the game, whether we play early this spring, late this spring, who knows when. But that way we're prepared, and if not, we're prepared for the fall. So wanted to put this out there for you. So the first thing that we need to review is our idea of boundary and field. So field is the wide side of the field. Boundary is the short side of the field. If the ball's directly in the middle, we'll call field to the right because we have right-handed quarterbacks. But if the ball is on the right hash, the field will be to the left, the boundary to the right. If the ball's like this on the left hash, the boundary is to the left, the field is to the right. That's just going to help you get lined up based on our different formations here. You'll hear that terminology, boundary or field. Like, for example, right here, the Y is in the field position because he is at the Y, tight to the line of scrimmage, hand down, but he is to the field. He's on the right side of the formation. That is the field. These receivers are field side. Now, this fullback right here, for us, it might be an H-back. He is on the boundary side. So you guys can see the difference there. So if you got on your card and it says field numbers, you're lining up field on the numbers. If you're a Y and it says field, you'll be tight towards the field. If it says boundary, you'll be backside on the boundary. So going through these one at a time. So we have these 6 formations as of right now: hip, flex, stack, heavy, empty, and wildcat. Empty and wildcat might get put in later. For now, I want you to focus on hip, flex, stack, and heavy. So hip on the left hash, we get a hyperlink here to what hip on the left hash looks like. So we got field here, or field, excuse me, to the right, boundary to the left. So the Y lines up boundary, and this is hip. Y lines up boundary. We get H2 and 1 to the field, so the H is to the field, hip of the tackle. That's why the formation is called hip. We get field hash here. We get field numbers, and then our running back is in the pistol. Now, if we flip that and go hip on the right hash, we just get the opposite, right? It's the same rule. Y is on the boundary. H is hip of the tackle to the field. 2 is hash to the field. 1 is numbers to the field. R, our running back, is in the pistol. So that is hip. So 1 and 2 to the field, numbers and hash, like our old rules. Y is always on the boundary, so short side of the field. The H is to the field, hip of the tackle, and we're in the pistol. That is hip. Moving on to flex. So this is on the left hash. Same rules for you, 1 and 2. Numbers into the field, hash, field. So we got the field here to the right. Boundary, the short side of the field here to the left. We get the H in the flex, which is on the numbers. H, you're never on the ball. You're always off the ball. 1 and Y are always on the ball. 1 and Y are always on the ball no matter what. H, R, and 2, you're always off the ball. 2, there's one exception in heavy that you'll see, but that'll be written on your card for you. So here, same rules for the receivers. We have H flexed into the boundary, Y into the boundary, R in the pistol. Right hash just flips. Right, so we're on the right hash. So we get flex to the field. We get the receivers to the field, numbers and hash. We get the Y and the H in the boundary. H, you're in the flex position on the numbers. Remember, not on the ball. We get the pistol here. That is flex. Stack. Stack, we get a stack with the receivers into the boundary. So this is the one that it flips on for you receivers. So you're usually always to the field except in stack. Stack, you're into the boundary. Y, you're usually into the boundary. In stack, you go to the field. And then H, you go to the field hash. And we're still in the pistol. So we get that stack look into the boundary. We get the Y to the field, the H on the field hash, and the pistol. Now, obviously, guys, right, if we're towards the middle but field is still to the right, H, you might bump out a yard or two. Adjust to the formation. But general rule is you're on the hash here. Stack, if the ball's right on the hash, get on the bottom of the numbers. Give yourself that extra 3 yards, 2 yards, whatever it is. If it is more in the middle, then you might come to the top of the numbers, maintain the correct distance there. So these adjust, but these are just your basic rules, and we're working off that idea of field and boundary. So stack, same rules, right? Same exact rules. So receiver, you stack to the boundary. So I could just call stack. If the ball's over here, you're on this boundary. If the ball's here like it is here, you're on this boundary, because that is the boundary. We have the field here to the left, boundary to the right, because the ball is towards the right hash. So same rules. Y, you're to the field now. H, you're to the field on the hash. And you get the stack look with the receivers to the boundary in the pistol. Other formation, not empty. So this is heavy. This is like a heavy option look for us. We'll run Rhino option where we get the Y leading to this side with the flare here downhill. We'll also run triple option to the field where we get the Y arcing out. One goes to block the safety. R here runs, we can run a power out of it. We can also just run the flare here, and we can get the dive here, or we can run the power and get the flare here. So this is a formation called heavy. We'll run a lot of option out of it. This is like a tone setter for us. We get that Y up off the line of scrimmage and right to. This is the one exception for you where you are on the line is in heavy, and you are on the field hash. So if the ball was over here, 2, you'd be over here. 1, you are on the boundary numbers. So once boundary is identified, here it's identified as left because the ball's closer to the left hash. You go to the numbers. Y, you're going to sniff the boundary tackle. I know that's a pause, but you are going to be in that sniffer position. Really split the tackle, maybe inside shade of the tackle. Maybe right in between tackle and guard. Depends on the play we're running, right? So if we're running the Rhino play where you have to lead to this side, you might cheat in a little bit. If we're running triple or hot triple here and you're arc blocking, you might cheat out a little bit so you can get out on your arc block. But general rule of thumb, you are boundary sniffing. You go here in the veer to the boundary side running back. H, you come to the pistol. That's heavy. Get heavy from the right hash. Same thing, right? We just flip. Flip. 1, you're still on the boundary numbers. It's just the boundary changed. Still on the field hash. You're on too. Make sure you're on. This is just in heavy. Right? Same rules. Y, still sniffing boundary tackle. Still veer boundary, veer right, veer boundary, we'll call it. And H, you're in the pistol. We'll go over empty and wildcat too. Empty. So now we get a stack into the boundary with the Y and the H. R, you're going to get the middle of the goalposts, or say the ball's more towards the middle of the field. You guys will split this hash. 2, you're either on the hash if the ball's all the way over on the left hash here, you'd be on the field hash. 1, your field numbers, right? So we get boundary stack with the Y and the H. We get R in the middle of the field or splitting the hash depending on adjusting to where the ball is. We get hash or splitting the hash, and we get numbers. So R2, 1 to the field, and YH to the boundary stacked, right? And right, we just flip it around. Now our boundary and field have changed. So we have the field to the left here, still 1, 2, R to the field, same landmarks. YH, you're still stacking to the boundary. And that is empty. And our last one, Wildcat. So this one is probably the most different. So 1, you're going to come in tight now. Now, we'll talk about whether your hand will be in the ground or you'll just be in a tight receiver stance. That's something we'll figure out once we really start getting into it. Y, you're into the boundary. R, your boundary hip of Y. So you're into the boundary, you're on the hip of Y. 2, boundary numbers. The quarterback comes out. We get a fullback in the game here, and he sniffs the field tackle. And then the H-back becomes the quarterback. And here we get the same thing. We get Wildcat right now, right hash. Same rules. It's just our boundary and our field changes, right? So we're still tight field 1. Y, you're on the boundary still. Just the boundaries to the right now, not the left. R, you get boundary hip of Y still. Still boundary numbers. The boundary's just to the right now, 2. Quarterback's still off the field in Wildcat. F comes in, sniffs the field tackle, and H becomes our quarterback. So, guys, the idea of boundary and field dictates where you line up in our formations. We only have 6 formations. It's really not that many to remember. And it will tell you on your card. So, say you are the H-back, right? And the H-back has quite a few different places that they line up. So, say I'm the H-back and I am hip, right? So our formation is hip. Actually, let's go down here. We get our stack boundary option series. Right, so on your card, H-back, it's got your place to line up. It won't say left hash, it'll say boundary hash. Boundary hash, which is the left hash because we're only calling this on the right side of the field. And you're sealing the force player. So the force defender, that's who you're sealing. That's your job. Boundary hash, seal force defender. So you'll know exactly where to line up. You'll know exactly what to do. And I hope this helps us just play a little bit faster. And yeah, so our first install, guys, is our formations based on this idea of field and boundary. So this will be shared with you. You can go through it. And I will see you guys next time we get together.